Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another segment of Inclusion Unlimited. I'm Leslie Mouton, the Creative Media Director for Morgans. Please make sure you like, subscribe, and share. Help us make this world a more inclusive place for people with disabilities. Speaking of which, it's time for another accessible moment. Here is Sharon Newhart. She's the Director of Inclusion and Culture for our nonprofit Morgans, and she has tips on how you can be more inclusive in your daily life.
Here at Morgans, we are on a mission to make this world a more inclusive place for people with disabilities. And I am often asked, how can I be more inclusive in daily life? So we took the top ideas from our staff, guests, and members on how you can do just that. And we came up with the top 5 ways to be more inclusive. So here they are. Number 1, use preferred language. Some people prefer person-first language, which means you put the person in front of the disability. For instance, a person who uses a wheelchair or an individual who is blind. But some people prefer identity first, such as a deaf woman or an autistic man. So how do you know which one to use? If you aren't sure, it's always best practice to use person-first language, and they will correct you if they prefer identity-first language. And of course, you can always ask them what they prefer as well. Number 2, don't assume what is or is not possible for a person with a disability. We want to avoid saying things like, in spite of their disability. Keep the focus on the incredible work that someone is doing or the impact that they're having. And not just because they have a disability, but because they are doing amazing things. Number 3, resist the temptation to see people with disabilities as heroic for doing everyday things. Many people with disabilities feel that this can be condescending. One of our friends here at Morgans told me that they don't want to be seen as inspirational just because they can tie their shoes. We wouldn't make that inspirational if it was a non-disabled person. Number 4, this is a big one. Remember your parking lot manners. Those crosshatch spaces next to the reserve spots can be a real issue for individuals with mobility disabilities. People need that extra space for their mobility devices, so please do not park or obstruct those areas, not even with a motorcycle. And then please don't confront people parking in reserved spaces. If they have a placard or license plate with a disabled sign, they have been vetted, so even if you don't see a visible disability, you could be wrong. And finally, number 5, plan your next social event or outing with inclusion in mind. Look for ways to make a fun time more inclusive and accessible for everyone. Ask your guests what they need to make your gathering more inclusive for them. These may seem like small efforts, but they make a really big difference. Make the effort to know and understand individuals with disabilities and treat them like people. After all, they do have the same goals, wants, hurts, desires, and dreams as people who are non-disabled. For more ways to help us create a more inclusive world, please go to morgans.org and find out how you can help.